Hey, it's me, Nalazar, and welcome to another video. In this one, I'm going to be going over all of the different Planeswalkers in the game, as we have this big sale coming up where you can buy them all. And then I'm going to break them into tier lists. I've broken this down into 3 videos, so one for monocolored, one for dual-colored, and one for tricolored and everything else. So the audio might be a little bit different here. I'm using my computer instead of my phone, so hopefully this turns out okay, but let's get started. So I'm going to first just show off the general tier lists, and then I will do the mono, duo, and tri. So this is my monocolored tier list. I know that there's a few missing, but I'll go over that. And then my duo list is here. And my tricolored list is here. All right, let's scoot back to those mono walkers. So what you're going to want to do is you should get all of the planeswalkers that it says everyone must have. And if you can, get the ones that it says everyone should have. If you can't get them, don't worry. These will cover everything you need. You'll also hear my mouse clicks. My mouse is pretty loud. So for the monocolored walkers that everyone should have, it should include Jace number 1 here, Unraveler of Secrets. And this one is really good because it has very good mana gains. The things you can put in the deck are pretty decent. So you can put 7 creatures, 5 spells, 5 supports. You're at +9 total for the mana gains. It's really easy to level up. And then the abilities are all pretty solid. So at level 60, you're going to get 4 mana per support for 9 Planeswalker. Really wouldn't use that one much. You've got for 12, discard a card and investigate 4. It's decent. But the real bread and butter here is this create a support with 6 shield with when you draw a card, each of your creatures gain +4/+4. So this is a game-changing walker. Every player should have it. So you should definitely get it if you don't have it. The other one here that we have is Koth. Koth is incredible in spite that limitation of just 3 supports over there because of this +9 to red match. This +9 is its only positive match. All of the others are 0 or negative, but don't let that fool you. Koth is amazing. So the 10 creatures is basically pointless. The 6 spells is pretty useful. So Koth is really good because of his abilities. So at level 60, you're going to use that first ability all the time. Destroying 12 non-red gems makes it so you can take advantage of this +9 all the time. So you get crazy mana with Koth. So much that you can use decks that have absurd mana curves that you shouldn't be able to use. Then for the second ability, Rage of the Mountain, this gives your creatures +8/+0, Trample, and Berserker. It's nice as sort of like a middle ability to remove creatures. You don't use it often, but you're going to use it sometimes. And then finally, Strength of the Mountain is a very solid ability, and it makes a support with 10 shields that says whenever any player matches red gems, all of your creatures get +4/+4. So Koth is really great for PvP especially, because you kill your opponents really quickly. And so if you don't have Koth, make sure you get Koth. And the final one of my S tier, S is like the best of the best, for monocolored is going to be Nissa Worldwaker. Now, Nissa's mana gains are very solid. They're just like Teferi. So you've got 4 to green, you've got 3 to white, 2 to red, 1, and -1. So for a grand total of +9, which is very solid. And then her limitations for cards are really solid too. So 6 supports, 7 spells, 6 creatures means you can really run anything you want. But the thing that makes her really good is this first ability right here. So creating 4 1/1 haste tokens and converting 6 gems to green. So most planeswalkers that have something that makes tokens, they have just make the token. But this not only makes the token, but then it converts gems to green. So you get a lot of mana off of Nissa Worldwaker that you do not get with other planeswalkers. And it makes it so that she's worth using over some dual and tricolored planeswalkers. It should be noted that for all of these, as these are all monocolored planeswalkers, they have the added advantage of all of the supports that say convert to your planeswalker colors are going to convert just to your colors. So that makes them very good. The Worldwake ability, you'll use sometimes. It gives you card draw, but it also increases the cost of the cards in your hand, so you're not going to use it too much. And then Heart of Zendikar is also pretty useful, but by and large, I find that I just use this first ability constantly. So Nissa Worldwaker is also a PvP Planeswalker, but very good. Now in the A tier, these Planeswalkers are just a little bit worse than the S tier, or there's a Planeswalker that fulfills its role a little bit better. So a prime example of that is Jaya. Jaya is a very good Planeswalker. She's a red spell Planeswalker. She allows you to use 8 spells, which is great. She allows 6 supports, which is great. Her mana bonuses are a total of +9, which is great. And her abilities are great too. So the first ability is fetch the first spell in your library, and then the first spell in your hand gains 10 mana. Very good. The second ability, Burning Books, is mediocre at best. If the last card in your hand is a spell, deal 8 damage to your opponent. If not, gain 4 mana, discard a card, draw 4. So, decent. And then right here, this ability has been tweaked around a lot because of combos, but is still really powerful. So create a token with 4 shields, and whenever you draw a spell, give it full mana and create a copy of it. So you get double spells, which is really powerful. The reason why Jaya is only A tier is because Rawl is a dual colored walker that performs what she does better, but she's still really good. So don't sleep on her. Then also in A, we've got Ob Nixilis. I feel like Ob gets overlooked in part because of his terrible mana gains. He has some of the worst mana gains in the game at +5 total, but his abilities are all very, very good. So the first ability only costs 3 loyalty, so it's really easy to use repeatedly. It draws you 2 cards, which is great because black struggles with card draw. You only lose 1 life, so it's really not a big problem. The second ability is lose 3 life for only 9. This is only 9 Planeswalker mana. It's lose 3 life, destroy a creature. There are no limitations on that creature destruction like a lot of other Planeswalkers. You just kill the creature. And then this here is a killer ability. So you create a support that has whenever any player draws a card, your opponent takes 8 damage. So in conjunction with this first ability that only costs 3, with you drawing a card every turn, and with other cards that enable card draw, Ob Nixilis is great for PvE and for PvP. You can kill your opponents really easy if you use Ob. So if you don't have Ob, you should get him. If you haven't used him in a while, try him out. He's very good. Next up is Elspeth. She's going to be up here. Now, Elspeth is an interesting one. So Elspeth's abilities are on the subpar side, but her mana gains are stellar. So having +7 here to white really is what makes her stand apart, and +3 to green and blue are also pretty solid. So her deck limitations are decent. Her abilities, like I said, they're mediocre at best. So you're going to summon a 4/4 token with Exert 6. That means that it's an activated gem that takes 6 turns to activate unless you activate it yourself by matching it, and then that will also trigger it. And that activation is going to make it so that you destroy the first creature your opponent controls. Her second ability is going to give each of your creatures +4/+4 on 2 activated gems. They're pretty hard to activate. It doesn't always go to white, which you'd think it should, but it doesn't. So that makes it a little bit harder to trigger them. And then the final ability is 4 of your activated gems are destroyed and triggered. So she's really cool with activate gem abilities, but it just doesn't have a lot of power to it. That being said, she's white and she has +7 to white, and that's what makes her really good. And then the final one on this list is Chandra Awakened Inferno. She's a newer Planeswalker, and what makes Chandra so good is that her third ability enables you to destroy creatures and Planeswalkers, and it does a lot of damage. Her mana bonuses are just like Elspeth's, so you've got +7 to red, you got 3 and 3 to green and black. The deck limits aren't up here, but they're pretty solid actually. I use her a lot, and the abilities aren't up here, so I will just go ahead and tell you that the first ability is going to create a support. I think it costs 4 loyalty, and that support does 2 damage plus an additional 1 for each reinforcement on the support to your opponent at the beginning of their turns. So it's useful, but not great. The second ability is pretty much entirely pointless, so we're going to forget that. But the third ability is 15 loyalty, and then it drains all of your loyalty and it deals X damage to target creature and the opponent. And then it's also going to, I think if it's a certain total or more, it's also going to do that amount of damage to a Vanguard. So it burns your opponent, it burns a creature, it burns the Vanguard. It's really easy to get loyalty with her, so amazing Planeswalker. definitely see that you have her. Now for the others, these are just planeswalkers that are strong and worth having, or to literally the worst planeswalkers. So starter Liliana is very good. She's definitely worth having. And of all the Ajanis, this one here, Adversity of Tyrants, is definitely the one to go for. Mana bonuses +9 total, which is solid. Nothing standing out above the rest though. He's going to buff your creatures. He's going to return creatures from the graveyard. But the really important one here is you get a support that has, at the beginning of your turn, create 6 cat tokens. Those tokens have lifelink, and so making 6 lifelink tokens every turn is pretty solid. It only costs 18, which isn't too bad for a third ability. And so you can win games with just that third ability. So Ajani's pretty good. I prefer Elspeth because her mana gains are better, but he's still very good. Now, this next here, these are good. Sorry, I still have my cough. These are pretty good for some objectives. So we've got Garruk. Garruk is great for summon creatures if you don't have Nissa. Nissa fulfills Garruk's abilities just way better though. So her mana gains are better, and then also her abilities are better. So you're just summoning tokens with all 3 of his abilities. You're basically doing that with Nissa also, but you're also going to convert gems to green. So Nissa is better. We've got the Lilianas. I know that I'm missing Untouched by Death here. I think that's the one I'm missing. Yeah, I'm missing Untouched by Death here. But she's not great. So she does have that +7, 3/3, which would make her seem like she's really good, but her abilities are just pointless. So destroy the top 8 cards of your library is decent, actually, but these 2 here are just terrible. So, I mean, this doesn't even return them to play, this third ability. It's really, really bad. So she's here for good for some objectives just because she has amazing mana bonuses, but she's not a good planeswalker. New Sorin and these 2 Lilianas are both pretty decent, especially, where are you? Death's Majesty is great for, you need to lose creatures. So this first ability here, you destroy your own creature and bring it back. Now the other 2 abilities aren't super great. You can use Raise Zombie on the creature. Excuse me. You can use Raise Zombie on this creature as it's going to permanently be a zombie. So that's awesome. I might actually cut the cough out of that. So if you hear like this odd like in the audio, it's because I coughed. I have a cough. I can't get rid of it. It's killing me. Figuratively, not literally. I hope. Whatever. And then the final ability, Horde, it's going to be useful if you're running zombie tokens, but there isn't a lot of zombie token going on in Standard right now. If you're watching this like way later and they've implemented zombie tokens, great, it's amazing. It doesn't reinforce, so you can just keep making more and more copies and they stack, which is really cool, but mediocre. Now, here we've got a bunch of fun but not needed planeswalkers. So Nissa Worldwaker is better than the Vivians. I know there are 2, I just have the image of one. Gideon here is not as good as either Elspeth or Ajani. This Nissa is just worse than this one. It's really fun to play with Energize, but yeah, doesn't compete without Energize cards. This Gideon follows the same path as this one. It's fun to use. It's not great. Like pretty much all of these M19 walkers, they're fun to use, but not great. This is an M20 Ajani. It's the newer one. It destroys things, it gains life, it's cool, but it's not great. These planeswalkers here in E, you want to avoid them if you can. They're very bad. So, I mean, if you're stuck using starter planeswalkers, you're stuck using starter planeswalkers, and that's fine, you can use them. But starter Chandra is awful, Fiblathip is awful, Jace Cunning Castaway, awful. Both Gideon and Nissa here are pretty bad. And they have kind of cool abilities, but their mana gains are just inexcusably bad. Over here we have, I'm just scrolling this way because I keep forgetting her name, but it's Mu Yanling. She's terrible. Like, look at this. She gives creatures minus power until end of turn. It's not even like a permanent one. You've got planeswalkers that give like permanent boosts to power. It doesn't even show. It's like -6, -0, and they lose flying until end of turn or something. She's really bad. Now, literally the worst. This Chandra here is intended for Energize. Her abilities were never good. She's one that could have really used some kind of update, but it just never happened. So just like straight up worse than Koth here. Destroy 4 gems, energize 4, remove 2 energized gems, deal damage to a creature, not good. And then this, not good. So this Gideon makes tokens, is outdone by both Nissa and Garruk. Starter Jace is literally the worst Planeswalker in the game. I mean, he's terrible. And then we have Mono Blue Tezzeret, who is also pretty bad. So that's pretty much a wrap. So as the buying goes with the sale, try and make sure you've got all of S and A. If you want to just have some fun, these are not necessary Planeswalkers in C and D, but you can definitely use them for events, and they're fun. If you like handicapping yourself in some way, go ahead and pick up E and F, but they're really bad. So that is what I would suggest for Planeswalker purchases for monocolored. See you in the next one.